I call Osseo City Council regular meeting to order here for Monday, November 10th at 7 p.m. Roll call. Looks like we have all members with us this evening. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Look for a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
So moved.
Okay, I've got a motion by Councilmember Schultz to approve tonight's agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Torres. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 5-0. All right, consent agenda. Any questions on that? If not, we look for a motion.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, got a motion by Councilmember Schultz to approve tonight's consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Harkoff. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 5-0. All right, matters from the floor. Any wishing to speak should fill out one of these yellow cards in the back, bring them forward to the city staff, and we'll call you up by name. So we've got a few to read here. All right. Is it Alicia Nesselhoff? Huff? Okay.
Hello, good evening. My name is Alicia Nesselhoff, and I'm here with my husband, Seth Nesselhoff, this evening. We are here in regards to the Roz Chunks LLC, a cannabis, and I have a little dilly here I'd like to talk about. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you this evening. As my husband Seth and I said, we are applying for approval to open a dispensary tonight. As part of our vision for this dispensary, we want to do more than simply open a store. We want to build connection and comfort around an industry that's still new to many people. We plan to host small, welcoming, educational gatherings for those who might be cannabis curious but have never been around it before. These sessions would focus on safety, responsibility, and understanding, helping take the intimidation out of cannabis through open, honest conversation. Our goal is to be a trusted and approachable member of the Osseo community. We want to add to the fabric of downtown life, participating in local events like handing out candy on Halloween and supporting our neighboring small businesses. We believe this dispensary can contribute to the vibrancy that already makes downtown Osseo so special, a place where people feel comfortable walking, talking, and connecting. We're proud to be a part of that story and excited to grow with this community. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Next one, Seth Nesselhoff.
Good evening, council members. Thank you for having us. My name is Seth Nesselhoff. As my wife said, we're the owners of Roz Chunk LLC. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you tonight regarding our application for cannabis sales. You'll notice that's 10C on the agenda. We live in Northeast Minneapolis with our two kids, Louis and Dottie. Our proposed dispensary is not part of a chain or a large corporate expansion. It would be our one only location. That makes it our sole focus. We're putting all of our energy, resources, and passion into ensuring that this business reflects the highest standards of compliance, community care, and customer experience. We chose Osseo because we fell in love with it 2 years ago when we came to the Osseo's Lion Roar Parade. Our friend Zach there invited us, and it was a wonderful time. What we found was a walkable downtown, small family-friendly businesses, and the kind of community spirit that makes a place feel alive. That experience inspired us to build something rooted in the same values: local connection, safety, and respect. We want to honor Osseo's heritage as a small, tight-knit community while also contributing positively to its future. By adding to the vibrancy of Central Ave, creating jobs, and helping attract more visitors to this walkable, thriving downtown. The proposed dispensary will be located in the former hardware store and radio repair shop next to Union Speed. If our application is approved, the building's owners plan to rehabilitate the space to the same high standard as their previous projects, which, as I'm sure you know, are absolutely beautiful examples of craftsmanship and care for Osseo's historic character. I'm honestly so excited as to the potential of that building. We realize that the municipal cannabis approval is also on the agenda for tonight, and we welcome it. The cannabis industry is very inclusive, and we plan on partnering with the municipal dispensary whenever it makes sense. I hope you approve the passing of the municipal dispensary as well. We're not here to change Osseo. We're here because we believe in what's already here and want to be part of it. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Next, WB Dennis Nice.
We spoke brother, what it is.
Oh,
I'm from the Northeast Winslow Lewis Lodge and also Whittemore Chapter Number 283, and we bag groceries at Cub to raise money for the second annual Shop with a Cop for Osseo. And I'm here to present some checks tonight so we can take kids shopping on December 15th. Shopping. We raised $2,172.90 between both chapters and that. And it was matched by Masonic Charities, matched what we made. So, I've got checks here for, here's a letter from Madeline. Just tells you what it is. If I can get the council members to come up and we'll take.
sure.
Can you just scoot over a smidge? Thank you. Okay, thank you.
And then Madeline and I are meeting with Target on Friday to set up what time we're gonna be bringing the kids in and taking them shopping. How many, you know how many kids we got so far, Shane? Or?
72.
We're pushing 5.
All right, thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other matters from the floor?
I'm here to talk about 10F mainly. I
Fill
noticed
out a card, please, and hand it in to city staff.
you have to wear a black jacket for your convenience too. I don't go off of policy. I go off of law, plain and simple. So,
Rules in place for things, so it doesn't become a complete.
right. Does the rule say I have to wear a black jacket too? If that rule said it, does that mean I have to wear a black jacket? Exactly. The rule is unlawful. It's unconstitutional.
That's incorrect.
What's the Fourth Amendment?
I understand the Fourth Amendment, but you keep telling us that this is an unconstitutional law, and it's not. It's not.
It's not a law.
there's
It's a policy.
It is a policy, and there's a precedent in place all across the country that places do this, and it's totally acceptable, and it's not breaking any law.
Yep.
If you think it's breaking a law, then file a lawsuit.
Okay.
You
Okay.
gotta stop bringing it up all the time.
I'll keep on bringing it up. So, 10F. This is CUP for the application for the Osseo High School electronic messaging display sign resolution. I understand the planning commission was delayed, rescheduled. Henceforth, their minutes are not in the consent agenda. I'm just asking to make sure that that commission is not irrelevant anymore if you move forward with on that. Also 10B, the 1% local option tax, sales tax. Was there not a grant that we applied for? Did we not get that? I don't know. I didn't see anything on that. Because I know that 1% local tax is supposed to go to the two parks and potentially community center. So when those come up, can you please speak to those? Thank you.
And moving on. 7, special business, 7A, special event permit for a small business Saturday.
Sorry. Mayor, Council, we received a special permit for, a special event permit for Small Business Saturday. This has been approved in the past. There's nothing there that is out of the ordinary from what we've had in the past. It has gone through every department and signed off by all departments, and so staff is recommending we approve the special event permit.
Okay. Questions, council? If not, we look for a motion.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
Motion to approve the special event permit for Small Business Saturday.
Okay, we got a motion by Councilmember Schultz to approve the special event permit. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Torres. Any further discussion? Such a great event. Thanks for all the effort into it. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 5-0. All right, 7B, accept donations.
Mayor, Council, whereas the Osseo City Council is generally authorized to accept contributions of real and personal property pursuant to Minnesota Statute Section 465.03, and whereas the council agrees that said donation would be a benefit to the citizens of Osseo, and whereas the following has proposed this contribution to the city of Osseo and the donation be used for the specific purpose as indicated below. One donation was from Fit Productions LLC for the amount of $400 to the Osseo Police Department. And staff is asking if we can amend this resolution to also include the $2,172.90 to the Osseo Police Department for Shop with a Cop.
Okay, council. Questions? Now we look for a motion to approve the amended resolution.
So moved.
Okay, we've got a motion by Councilmember Schultz to approve the amended resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Cook. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Attorney Teachin.
Thank you, Mayor. This is resolution number 60. Councilmember Cook?
Aye.
Councilmember Torres?
Aye.
Councilmember Hartkoff?
Aye.
Councilmember Schultz?
Aye.
Mayor Poppy?
Aye, motion passes 5-0. All right, number 8, public hearings. No public hearings this evening. Number 9, old business. 9A, receive liquor license or revised liquor license for Mexico de Corazon LLC.
Mayor and Council, Mexico de Corazon, located at 204 Central Ave, has been operating since August 8th. The original on-sale intoxicating and Sunday liquor license was approved by Council on September 22nd for a period through June 30th, 2026. This liquor license only covers Suite A for that location. Since the approval in September, the owner, Monica Ortiz Barajas, has requested to expand the licensed premises to include Suite D at the same address. Suite D provides an additional dining area at the front of 204 Central. The Department of Public Safety's Alcohol and Gambling Enforcement Division has confirmed that the expanded space can be approved under their liquor license, provided that the business's liquor license insurance, their liquor liability insurance, covers both suites. Staff verified that the insurance meets all state requirements and that a lease agreement is now in place for Suite D. With all the criteria satisfied from the state and the city, staff is looking for approval from the mayor and council of the revised liquor license to include both Suites A and D of 204 Central through the license period of June 30th, 2026.
Okay. Questions, council?
No questions, but it's exciting that they are facing the need to expand a little bit through there. I mean, every time I've been there recently, it's, been waiting and all that stuff. So it's exciting to see a business flourish and thrive here in town. So happy to support that.
All right. With that, I'd like to make a motion.
Make a motion to approve the amended liquor license request.
I got a motion by Councilmember Schultz to update the liquor license as discussed. Is there a second?
Second.
And by Councilmember Torres. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 5-0. All right, number 10, new business. 10A, Metro Transit Route 725 through Osseo. Welcome.
Mayor, Council, we have a presentation on this, just a little bit of conversation and questions, but I'm just going to kind of give you some background. So we've met with Metro Transit to solidify this Metro Transit Route 725. We've had a presentation, I think, a couple times before. We walked Central Avenue, looking at different proposed bus stops and also one 50-foot designated rest area for their buses and their drivers. So they're going to do their presentation, but to just keep that in mind that currently, I believe we have 7 stops in Osseo plus that 50-foot area on, was it 5th? Was it 5th?
Including the
Yep, including that. So go ahead.
Right. Do I have a clicker to advance, or should I just say?
It's right there.
Do you want me, I think it's a PDF, so it won't work.
Oh, okay. I can just.
If you just let me know, I can advance it.
Hello, council members. Thank you for inviting Metro Transit back to present on transit and Route 725. I was here about a year ago presenting the Network Now concept draft plan as well as the 725. And in March of this year, the Metropolitan Council formally endorsed our plan, and we're here again after several months, ready to implement Route 725 with an effective date beginning service on December 6th this winter. So just a few weeks away. Next slide, please. So today we'll cover several topics, but I'll try to keep it at a brief clip so that we can at least share an understanding about how these proposed bus stops can work and how service will look on the street once we begin on December 6th. I'll also go through some of the technical features at a high level, hopefully, of how these bus stops work and what they'll look like and what the purpose is. We'll also talk through how we gathered some feedback from both our local government stakeholders and from the public to determine these final bus stops. And then we will go through what each of those stops and that layover, that 7th stop will look like. And then we'll have some time for questions. But please do interrupt me if anything that I say in the moment needs clarification. Next slide, please. All right. So I kind of went through this already. We'll just skip to the next slide. Route 725. This is a new crosstown route. We have not served this corridor before, and it will certainly be new to the city of Osseo, where the route will travel down Central Avenue, Jefferson Highway, over to Brooklyn Boulevard, up to 85th, traversing Brooklyn Park, crossing over the Mississippi into Coon Rapids, and ending at the Blaine Northtown Mall, where we have a transit center. Next slide, please. So this, what we call a crosstown route, will serve hourly connections, connecting riders between Osseo via the Starlight Transit Center in Brooklyn Park, over to Northtown Mall, as I mentioned, where we have that other transit center. It'll really provide access, enhanced access to the wider transit network. We have high-frequency routes both at Starlight Transit Center and at Northtown Transit Center as well. So there's going to be a whole universe of new options for getting around through this corridor. And when I say hourly service, this is what we would consider like a coverage frequency, where you can get some basic, everyday, all-day purposes met on this level of service. However, we'll also operate from morning through evening, 7 days a week. So even though it's kind of coverage level, it is very kind of comprehensive in terms of meeting different types of shifts, different types of errands and appointments that people might want to make. Again, that all-day, all-purpose sort of trip making. When this route begins in service, it will have a local fare that riders can expect to pay, which will be a $2 fare that includes the 2.5-hour transfer. Next slide, please. So what does this look like when it's on the street? A big and important feature of our system and how riders interact with service is the bus stop. Perhaps unlike Maple Grove Transit, which formerly operated an express route through here, they were a flag stop service where riders kind of knew sort of how to flag down a bus when they needed to be picked up. In our system, because we operate so many different routes with lots of riders with different levels of experience, different markets, we use what we call a bus stop with a T sign, and we'll see a bit more about that T sign in a moment. So that bus stop is on request only, so we only stop at the bus stop if either someone is waiting there or if someone on the bus signals to be let off. Usually it's a little pull cable or a button. And that is also where at the boarding instance is when the rider pays that fare. This route will also operate on what we call a cutaway bus. This is a shorter type of bus that you might see in some parts of Brooklyn Park or in other suburban locations. It will look similar to this bus in this picture. That operates a lot like a passenger vehicle because it's built on a truck chassis. So it is smaller than your typical bus, maybe somewhere between 25 feet long and 30 feet long. And they typically carry around 14 to 16 passengers, depending on whether there are wheelchair slots, positions open on if there are 1 or 2 wheelchair slots available. And all of our buses are wheelchair lift equipped, and they all do have bike racks on the front. Next slide, please. So how do we determine where a bus stop goes? We have a lot of different factors that we look at, and we work with our community stakeholders, including our local government, roadway owners, like cities, to determine what is appropriate, what is workable, what are conflict points or opportunities that we want to incorporate into this bus stop plan. So we consider origins and destinations of riders, our operations on the road, including general traffic operations, and we consider the pedestrian network, sidewalks, crosswalks, those kinds of things. Our best practices generally are spacing bus stops up to every quarter mile and as close as 1/8 of a mile. So think, 1 or 2 up to maybe 4 short city blocks. That typically tends to be a pretty accessible distance for most people to comfortably walk or roll. We also, when I talk about walking and rolling, we prefer to site bus stops where either a site is immediately going to be pretty much ADA accessible, or where there's a really good opportunity to, in the future, improve that stop to ADA accessibility. Next slide, please. So I mentioned we would talk about T signs. Our bus stop signs are kind of that classic circle T, where you have the red circle with the T in there. That communicates to riders, where to stop, where to wait for the bus. You typically should be right at the bus stop. And it also communicates to operators who might be operating many different routes across their workday. It tells them where to stop to pick up that passenger. And not only that, but it's also kind of a key point for riders to interact with our transit information. It's a really carefully curated level of information that we provide at every bus stop so that riders of all levels of experience can figure out where they are and what route serves it, and maybe even when that route is arriving next. Next slide, please. So I mentioned T signs. There's lots of different ways that we might implement a T sign or our sign blades. These could be installed onto existing poles, like in examples 1 and 2, where we mount it onto an existing road pole, like a speed limit sign, or we mount it to maybe a telephone pole or a light pole. And our third example is when we need to install our own pole. And we actually do have our own installation team, and we coordinate really closely, where cities or other roadway owners, if they want to do the install or if they prefer that we do the install, that is something that we're able to talk through and figure out kind of the best approach. Next slide, please. The last kind of technical bit that I'll talk about is a lot of text, but you can read that in your leisurely time. The layover is that one stop that keeps coming up. That's that 50-foot space. That is what we call the end of a route where the bus stops and the operator is able to take their break. It is technically still like in-service time, so people can still board and alight the bus if the bus driver is on that bus. But it is the time that the bus driver has to get out, stretch their legs, eat their lunch, go to a restroom. It's also the time that's built in so that the service keeps running on time throughout the day, so that if anything is running late, that next trip will still depart on time. So it's really important for that layover to be really reliable and available throughout the day so that we can know that operations will be consistent regardless of the time of day and regardless of the time of year. And so there's a few more details in here related to kind of the length or duration of that layover. So right now our schedules have us somewhere laying over between as few as 14 minutes or as many as 29 minutes, depending largely on traffic conditions. The faster the road traffic moves, the more layover we typically would expect just because the bus is traveling a little faster. But we also know that once we're actually in service, we will perhaps see data that will tell us how the route is actually, how fast it's actually going. So we could see over time that layover maybe even shrink, or maybe it tells us that we have a lot of extra time to work with, and maybe we can extend the route or do something different to modify where that route goes. So there's actually a lot of opportunity in having sort of that extra layover time at this end of the route. And I can talk more about that in one of my later slides too. Next slide, please. So as Shane mentioned, we have done some legwork already to coordinate at the staff level to determine, what that bus stop plan could look like, including, early notification in July, field work out here in mid-September. And we did some great real-time adjustments to our stop proposal last, a couple months ago. Next slide, please. We've also, in that time since September, have been working very diligently at a public outreach plan. We have a assigned associate outreach coordinator who was not able to make it today, but she's been, Sharon Espinosa, she's been connecting with lots of local organizations and businesses and stakeholders as well to get the word out. We've done digital communications for people in and around the corridor, surveys for riders to help understand where people are maybe trying to go and when, and what other opportunities they might be interested in terms of their access on the route. She also accomplished a lot of door knocking in a short amount of time, including talking to, I believe, about 20 or so different entities along the Central and Jefferson corridor. And that's a portion of the 52 locations that she reached out to across the entire Route 725 corridor. And generally speaking, I would say that the feedback was generally neutral in the corridor, but a couple of positive responses from business, other employees or other folks at businesses who were interested in kind of that business access. There also have been 2 community events, or will be 2 community events, and that's a lot of coordination with our city and county partners. Next slide, please. So we did hear one piece of feedback specifically about a bus stop that we incorporated into our proposed bus stop plan, and that was a potential conflict outside of an auto body shop on Jefferson Highway just south of County Road 81. And so those are the types of things that we want to be able to flag and look for ahead of time before, we are correcting our bus stop issues after the fact. We've also heard suggestions to extend the route up to Decatur Landing and Brooklyn Park, or further west to locations like the UPS distribution center. So those are the kinds of things that we are percolating and we're keeping track of. Again, to that, the topic of layover and how much time that we have at the end of the route that might give us that opportunity potentially in the future to extend and modify. Next slide, please. That brings us to, finally, the bus stop plan. That's 7 total bus stops. One of those is that layover. We have 6 other bus stops that are paired together, so they're roughly in the same-ish location, typically across the street from each other, and that's just a legibility thing so that riders can expect that where they board is roughly the area where they will get off the bus when they come back on that return trip. Next slide, please. So we'll start walking through each of the sites with the proposed bus stop. And this is our first. This is that layover. That's the beginning and end of each trip, where the route will circle from 4th to 1st to 5th. And this is just around that corner. I'm probably parked right where that little white sedan is. And The purpose of that 40-foot and the 50-foot clearance zone is the 40 feet gives the small cutaway bus that opportunity to clear that crosswalk to avoid any obstructions for not only people trying to cross the street, but for any vehicles trying to turn around that car. And that extra 10 feet is kind of a maneuvering or merging space so that bus can leave reliably that layover whenever it starts its trip. If there should be a car parked right in front of the bus stop, there's not really any room for that bus to maneuver around that car, and so it has to back up. And typically, we try to avoid backing up whenever possible in a bus. So that would we would request not only a T sign installed just east of the existing sign pole, but also a no parking sign. And again, that's just a reliability measure to make sure that that area is available for the bus. It's also a very level area in terms of getting riders on and off the bus, as well as the operator. And it also is kind of the furthest away from all the activity that we heard of and that we saw coming from the community center and all the on-street parking, visitors, and things that get generated in this area. Next slide, please. So moving south, we're kind of going to jump around from northbound and southbound, going down Central to Jefferson Highway. So that first stop that we're going to visit here is southbound Central at 4th Street. That's kind of in the southwest quadrant, where we can fit a bus stop kind of right between the existing lampposts, and the doors can still open, and riders can still board and alight at that location, and it's close to or fairly close to being an ADA site. And because we, as I mentioned, installing T signs, that's kind of how we indicate where to stop the bus and where riders should wait. This would be a scenario where we would propose installing a sign pole in the landscaping with that T sign blade. Yes.
So just one point there. You mentioned about really coordinating with our local public works group, because in that particular couple of these different landscape areas, we do have some infrastructure buried, water lines and things like that.
Yes.
So we don't really want you to break any of those.
Yes, definitely, definitely. We will need to do things like locates for these stop locations. And we have a couple of staff teams, our street operations team, as well as our sign installers who will be working with Public Works to get those safely and properly located.
Mayor and council, also Public Works Director Wald Billig has looked at all of these locations and is okay where those signs are placed as far as the infrastructure underneath.
Because I'm pretty sure that that stuff is all plastic under there, so I don't think it's going to show up on your locate. Just so as long as you're working with our city staff to make sure it is in the right spot, it sounds good to me.
Thank you for that feedback. I think we can move on to the next slide. Facing northbound, this is sort of paired with that southbound stop, but it's on kind of an opposite intersection. This is where there's an existing shelter today, and that shelter is northbound probably because the Maple Grove transit route was picking up riders going northbound on this street, whereas we'll be mostly picking up riders going southbound just because of the direction of the route. But we can still use this stop, and we would propose to install a pole and a sign, again, in the landscaping with coordination with Public Works. Next slide, please. All right. And these next couple of stops bring us to the edge of downtown, right at or around County Road 81. And that starts to get at our kind of stop spacing needs. This would primarily serve riders who are coming from the southern half of the downtown area. This T sign we propose would be installed right on that lamppost. We have a lot of operations in other places where we have bus stops that are in sort of a shared through and right lane. Really, the activity is dependent on how many riders actually will walk to that stop and request it. At hourly service, you could expect at most the bus stops once an hour in that location. But it may be less than once an hour. It might be dependent on the day of the week as well. But typically, boarding a bus or lighting a bus should take seconds. The only other scenario would be boarding a wheelchair or alighting a wheelchair. Next slide, please. So looking in the opposite direction, north of County Road 81 northbound, we would also propose installing the T sign directly on an existing pole. That's the speed limit posting, and that would be a fairly straightforward type of install and operation for us as well. Next slide. All right. So looking south of County Road 81, this was actually one of the stops that I had mentioned earlier. We got business feedback from another auto body shop saying, well, we use this area on the street for overflow parking or deliveries, things of that nature. Is it possible to move that stop? And so this represents that tweak. We actually moved this stop, I think, further north. I think that there's some other commercial uses just to the right of the screen as well. That might be potentially like a generator for workers and people showing up for restaurant and food services. This is a fairly level location. It's not necessarily a site with like a sidewalk, but sometimes in these contexts we try and make do the best we can with the recognizing that the potential of the site being again fairly level boarding, there may be opportunities in the future to improve it. Next slide, please. This is approximately across the street on the northbound side of Jefferson Highway, where we would have a similar treatment with a new sign pole and T sign. Next slide. So I think I've talked enough about bus stops. So our next steps would be to finalize this bus stop plan here in Osseo. The rest of these stops, I think there are a couple technically that are in Maple Grove, as well as a couple dozen in Brooklyn Park that are ready to go. And so these stops will kind of be the culmination of a lot of work put into launching this service. So prior to December 6th, we would, assuming our bus stops proposed plan or maybe some adjustments can be made, assuming those bus stops move forward, we would complete the install hopefully before the ground freezes. We'll see how much time we have. And then after December 6th, we will be monitoring that route while it's in service, and we welcome, of course, feedback from your residents, businesses, and yourselves as well about how that route is doing, if there are any questions or concerns that arise after that time, or maybe positive stories too. Next slide. That brings me to any questions you might have.
Council, questions?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
so one question has to do with the layover.
Yes.
And I see that layover is right around the intersection. So my experience with that is when I go to Northeast Minneapolis, there's a location that I go to quite often, and they have a layover. And that's at the intersection of 8th Avenue and 2nd Street. Mm-hmm. And I can't count the number of times that I've had near misses with traffic coming from behind where the bus is stopped, because it creates a full-on block. So my first question is, why couldn't that layover be further up into the middle of the block so that corner isn't blocked out like that? Because it seems like if you move it up, I think in the picture it was about another 50 feet or so, it would still be before the exit for the police station, so it wouldn't impede with that. And I just feel it's going to be a much safer place to have a layover, to reduce potential accidents.
I appreciate your concerns there. I see, Shane, were you about to
Yeah,
respond?
Mayor and Council, we kind of looked into that, and the only fear that we have as far as moving it up is like people for the community center that would take away some space closer to the community center and some parking. And so when we looked at it from a law enforcement perspective and feet distance, that the size of these buses, they'll be able to move up further or far enough away from the intersection to make it not an issue. And if they do, then we're going to have some conversations, obviously, with the drivers to pull it forward enough. But with the size of the buses, staff felt that was good location, just because we're more worried about parking closer to the doors for the community center and getting people in and out, that was our concern. That can be moved. I'm just saying that was staff's concern when we looked at it, was that we saw more cars parked during the day closer to our garages than we see closer to that end of the street and that intersection. That was where we came from.
Oh, thank you for that. And I appreciate that. But again, just looking at this, I guess the trade-off is, these vehicles you said are around 30 to 40 feet.
25 to 30 feet.
25 to 30. So you've got a space dedicated of 40 feet of where it's going to park. So even if they pull all the way up to the T, that leaves 10 feet, of which about half of that is crosswalk. So, I don't know. I guess it's a trade-off between, does one less person get to park closer to the door of the community center versus the risk aversion of having an accident at that corner? Because like I said, I literally cannot count the number of times I'm like, oh man, that was lucky. I'm still waiting. There's going to be some time where I'm not going to be lucky. So just something, to raise, to think about. The other question that I have is on these stops on Jefferson Highway and 81 on each side. So I'm kind of curious of what impact that's going to be. Because if we look at the first one, Central Avenue and County Road 81 site _ NBWB, which is would be the northbound, westbound. So it would be the other one, not this one. There, on that one, correct. So the way this is laid out, if this camera was to have been pulled back, is that's the exit for coming off of 81, which does not require a full-on stop. You can make that corner irrespective of, if I remember right, the light. Even if you don't, it's still a right-hand turn coming off of 81. And if we want to look at the next slide, because it's going to be basically the same concern that I have. I apologize, one before, not one after. Which is going to be the Central Avenue, County Road 81 site, southbound, eastbound. Yep, that one. Kind of same thing. So I'm picturing the bus stopping here. Cars are going to be backed up behind that, right? And then you've got the intersection like literally right there. So I'm just kind of, I don't even know really how to frame the question. I know what I'm asking, but I'm not coming up with the exact words. But it just seems like having stops right at an intersection, right next to a very, very busy thoroughfare, and that intersection on the southbound, eastbound always has this kind of funky thing because the way the signals work, when you're in that left turn lane, that doesn't happen right away. If you're in the right-hand side of the street, that's for either going straight or forward or taking the right. And again, if you take the right, you're not impeded by the stoplight. You simply need to make sure you look both ways and yield. So I'm just wondering about traffic flow. There it is. That's what I'm trying to get to, is traffic flow. So if you can kind of just give us the thought process around that, and if that's something that can be addressed, is this like firm in stone?
Well, thank you, Councilmember. We have a lot of, as I mentioned, a lot of operations like this at intersections, even at busy intersections too. We have something like this in Ramsey County off of Mounds View Boulevard and County Road H, where we have a stop that's in a right turn lane. That's a dedicated right turn lane. But what it comes down to is volumes of trips, frequency, and the level of ridership. So again, if we stop every single time, that's maybe once an hour, and maybe for 10 seconds, 20 seconds, depending on how many riders are boarding. So we estimate that in the grand scheme of things would be a pretty mitigated impact. I can't say there will be no impact, but that will be pretty mitigated. And the opportunity to install on an existing pole as opposed to installing any of new poles does give us some flexibility in terms of saying, hey, we've been seeing this sort of conflict emerge at this site. Can we relocate it to a different pole that's in that area, in that segment? Could we bring it further north, up in that lane? Possibly. Mostly, again, we want to be able to mitigate those on-street parking impacts. There's a lot of stalls for on-street parking that seem to be really well utilized in downtown Osseo, so we kind of want to be out of that use as well. Just want to be in and out as quick as possible with our trips. And in the other direction, I will note that in some another way to kind of reframe the northbound. What we call a far side stop is that it's sort of acting if the bus is there making a stop. Again, it might be infrequent. If the bus is there, that kind of acts as its own sort of traffic calming. When you come off of 81, you have to decelerate quite a bit to get to the posted speed limit, or even better, under the speed limit. The speeds are pretty moderate or modest when you drive through here, and I think the built environment kind of gives you that. A feeling of slower speeds too. So that bus is kind of just reinforcing calmer traffic if it is stopped there, and hopefully over time will just become part of sort of the expectation of kind of safe driving, reasonable speeds for a downtown walkable area. But again, it's maybe infrequent that that stop is used.
I'm thinking of the two. The one that we're looking at right now is the bigger concern. Because as we know, unfortunately, not everybody is a good driver. Not everybody's an attentive driver. And we're putting something that's essentially around a corner. So you're coming down 81, you take that right turn, all of a sudden there's a bus right in front of you, right? So it's not the good drivers. I don't worry about good drivers. I worry about bad drivers. I worry about inattentive drivers. And having, I mean, we've had officers have to deal with cars on 81 itself going straight, smashing into people, let alone around a corner. So I think, and again, it's kind of a risk analysis. So if it's more risky to have it where it sits, less risky to push that stop up, say a block, why would you not go up a block if it's not going to affect ridership, right? I mean, the purpose of buses is to transport people, not to manage traffic, in fairness, right?
Of course. Thank you, Councilmember. I will note that we had scoped out a couple of potential locations closer to the next intersection, but we do start to run into some variability in how those curb bump outs are designed, and some of the street furnishings as well. And we do not want to impact the street furnishings or any businesses that currently use them as like patios come spring again, or bike racks and other types of street furnishings. Those are the types of things that we think that are valuable to the downtown, and if we can be kind of out of the way from those types of impacts, we would like to do so. But that's being said, we can always revisit.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if there's nobody to stop, nobody standing there, the bus isn't going to stop, correct? It's just going to go right on by?
Correct.
So they're not just going to stop and wait to see if somebody's going to show up?
No, they will not.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, that particular policy that Councilmember Harkoff mentioned is really important for this central core. It's going to be interesting to see how much utilization you're all going to get there. And I hope too that specifically with the high density residential up on Decatur, that you guys look to address that, because that was kind of just put in the middle of nowhere, and specifically the nature of that particular development there does have, by its very design, it's affordable, low income, and also they do accept Section 8 vouchers there as well. So they don't have access to any type of city services there. So the opportunity to help some of those folks out as it comes back into Osseo. I'm hoping that you guys evaluate that sooner rather than later to look at that. The fact that if there's nobody there, the bus isn't going to stop eases a lot of my concerns regarding the impact to traffic up and down there. But to your point, if we do see that that starts becoming an issue, then we can look at other solutions to it. So I'm skeptical as to how much ridership you're going to get, but that's not my job to figure out now. It's just to proceed with this plan. And I don't, I was looking at specifically the layover spot, looking at, is there some spot on First Avenue Northwest that they could stop at? But then that would cause potentially some sightline issues with entering and exit City Hall. So, and I agree with staff recommendation, keeping it further away will impact less of the people that are using that area. It's still going to be an impact because I don't know what the normal length of a parking spot that's marked is, but that's going to be probably at least 2, if not 3 spots that are not going to be available. But we'll figure it all out. And, with the city during most of the hours of operation will have restrooms available and stuff for the particular drivers. Outside of our closed hours, they're not going to have access to that. So, I hope they plan appropriately for that. But yeah, like I said, I'm skeptical of the success of this, but that's not my job. So I'm support the plan as it is.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Other questions, comments? Okay.
And thank you, Mayor.
Right. Someone like to make a motion?
Mr. Mayor, make a motion to approve the bus stop locations and rest area as presented.
Okay. Got a motion by Councilmember Schultz to approve the bus stop locations and rest area as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Cook. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. All right, 10B, 1% local option sales tax.
Mayor, Council, the Osseo City Council is asked to consider resolution of support for a 1% local option sales tax, or considered, I guess, quote-unquote, lost. That's how a lot of people talk about this local option sales tax.
Acronyms.
Yes. To fund the following community projects: Boardroom Park expansion project, enhancements to expand recreational, cultural, and event space in Osseo Central Park. Site park renovations, upgrade to improve accessibility, safety, playground, and sport surfaces and recreational amenities. New Osseo Community Center within Boardroom Park, a multi-purpose facility serving residents and regional visitors through recreational, cultural, and civic programming. Adoption of this resolution is the first step in pursuing state legislative authorization to place the sales tax question on a future ballot. At the October 27, 2025 City Council work session, the council discussed the potential implementation of a 1% local option sales tax and its role in supporting community investment. State Senator Susan Pah attended the session to outline the legislative process and requirements for state authorization. Local option sales taxes are authorized only through legislative approval and voter support. The key steps in the process include City Council resolution of support, identifies the projects and expresses intent to pursue legislative authorization, legislative approval, so it's got to go to the state legislature. So state representatives and senators introduce legislation seeking approval for Osseo to place the question on a ballot. Public engagement process conducted after legislative authorization to inform and educate the residents. General election ballot, November of 2026. Osseo voters consider the 1% sales tax questions. If implemented, the 1% local option sales tax is projected to generate $500,000 to $700,000 annually based on sales activity within Osseo. Approximately 40% of this revenue would be contributed by non-residents, helping to broaden the city's revenue base and lessen the financial impact on local taxpayers. Revenue from the tax would be restricted for use on capital projects authorized by the Minnesota legislature, specifically the Boom Park expansion, site park renovations, and the new community center. No proceeds could be used for general operations or maintenance expenses. It is estimated that a 1% tax in Osseo would generate $13 million over 20 years. So there's been a lot of questions on this local option sales tax and what it can be used for. And so if you are able to look at the revenue, this would be the Department of Revenue for the state of Minnesota. And it says it can be used for a single building or structure, including associated infrastructure needed to safely access or use the building or structure, improvements within a single park or named recreation area, and a contiguous trail. So a lot of cities use it for trails that go from multiple city to multiple city. And then it goes through, it tells everyone how this is supposed to be done and how long it takes, and basically we've laid that out in what I just spoke about. But those are the three areas that we can use this local option sales tax. So we can't use it for streetscape, we can't use it for streets or infrastructure, or, water main or something like that. That would probably fall under more of a bonding side of the state legislature if we're able to do some of that in the future. But this local option sales tax is something that that we've talked about on several different occasions, and this resolution will only be in support of it, but the voters in the city of Osseo would have to approve it. So this isn't the last time we're going to see this type of presentation from us as staff.
Council, questions, comments?
Mr. Mayor?
Yep.
At our work session, I think you talked about having one or two information sessions where the residents, especially the people that have questions about this, could come in, and there would be people here that could actually answer the questions that they have and explain to them. Is that correct?
That is correct. And we can't set dates yet until we know that the state legislature has passed the option to put it on a ballot, and then we're going to set up informational meetings. Probably more of a town hall meeting to talk, a couple of them to talk about it and to have resident input.
Yeah, I just wanted that information out there because I know there's a lot of questions, and I think that's an opportunity for people to have their answers. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Mr. Mayor? Yep. So I think we heard basically the three things that this money can be used for when we go to the legislature. And at the last meeting, we had discussed possibly expanding or broadening what the ask would look like. I did try to reach our senator today, and unfortunately she was probably very busy, which is understandable, so I didn't get a chance to speak with her. But as I was thinking about this, I started thinking about all the discussions that we've had over this year regarding this building in our city hall and our campus, which houses our fire department and our police department. So it would seem to me that we could proffer to the legislature and say, okay, if the requirement is that we get this that has to do with a building, well, our building does provide a regional purpose. It's actually very substantial. Because of our mutual aid agreements that we have, our fire department and our police department, which are part of this building, absolutely support the communities around here. So asking for that project or a project like that to be inclusive of this 1% when we go to the legislature, I think is very important, because we have to remember how this works. This 1% is a part of a larger set of tools that the city has to bring money in, right? And like it was discussed when Senator Powell was here, it's not Peter robbing Paul, it's Peter chipping in, Paul chipping in, Thomas chipping in, just all the different ways that we can bring money in. And if Peter chips in, then Paul has to pay a little less, Paul being property taxes, because Peter, the 1%, now is covering that difference. So I'd really like to see a number 4 on the policy consideration, and that being We've already got some numbers on what it's going to cost for this campus. And I mean, that's a huge number. Like, I mean, I remember first sitting in this chair, that was one of the things we talked about back in January and February. It's like, man, there's 3 different options and it's like this massive amount of money and we don't have the bonding capacity. Well, if we get that ask put in with these 3 other items, then that gives us a lot of flexibility to start figuring out where does the money make the most sense when we bring this in. And it should also be noted that 1% will always stay 1%, even if it's 20 years. But as we know, inflation just occurs naturally. So as the money goes up for the cost of things that are non-essential, and I got to underscore that, this 1% is non-essential goods. It's not going to touch prescriptions, it's not going to touch food, it's not going to touch clothing. So as we got discretionary spending happening by 40% of people outside of Osseo coming in, we can take advantage of that. And as the cost of goods go up, that 1% translates into more dollars. So if we bring in $10 this year, 20 years from now, that same $10 that we brought in from a $100 spend could now be $300 or whatever the cost of living goes up. This will follow that. So as building costs get more expensive and things within these projects get more expensive, that 1% is going to keep pace with that. So think about that. Instead of having to raise property taxes to keep up with inflationary costs of maintaining our city, now we have a device that's in place that follows with it directly. So as things get more expensive, we bring in more money, just naturally, the way this works. So I know that was a lot to digest, but the key point that I'd like to make to everybody here is I really believe that while we didn't have a detailed discussion with Senator Pa or Representative Hiltzley, I would really like to see that project put in, because I think a very, very strong argument's always a bad word, but I think it can be proffered. I think the legislature will get it. And this is something that the legislature, it's no money out of their pocket. It doesn't take away from anything that they're doing. So why not? In fact, I think this can be presented in such a way to the legislature to go, look at, you want us to stop coming hat in hand all the time? Give us the resources so that we can be self-sufficient. And this is a tool for self-sufficiency. So at that, I will pause, but I think it's really important that we add this campus to the projects so that we can use the money for that.
Mr. Mayor? I just have a couple things. That was actually part of one of the things I was going to say, was the ability to, within number 3, potentially add, improvements to this facility, as well as in the potential investment in a new facility across the street. But so I won't belittle that, or I won't continue that point. I think that point's been made. But I do just have some questions. So I'm assuming, because we're not going to get all this money up front, so you're going to have to borrow against this 1%. When you borrow against that 1%, obviously you're going to pay interest on that borrow. Where does that fit into the 1%? Is that part of the one? I mean, is that interest going to be paid from the 1%?
Well, you can do it a couple of different ways. You can accumulate the money and then spend it at that point, or if there's enough, then you can make bond payments out of that.
Mm-hmm. And do those bond payments include interest? So that would all come from the 1% pool? Okay. If that's the case, is the 1% that we can generate over the 20 years, is it enough to fund the projects and the interest?
Mayor, council, yes. Actually, if you look at, say it starts at, we'd have to really take a look at it once it starts coming in. And a lot of cities have decided to do that, where they'll collect for a year, 2, 3 years before they start implementing in stages these different projects. And that's all going to be a council decision. And then that'll be done after the residents have approved the sales tax. And so we can do it two different ways, but yes, it's all built into the bond payments, and that would be supported if we decided to borrow to do these projects, which is something that would be projected by Ellers over the amount of years and how long that's going to be. Once we have the final numbers of these projects, and once you've paid for these projects or paid off the bonds, the 1% stops. So it could stop at 12 years. I mean, because it is so influenced by, as Councilmember Torres said, cost of product, how much are we spending? We can't project on a typical basis how much is going to come in every single year. We have what we have now, but that doesn't mean it's not going to ebb and flow. And so that's where, as a city, we have to be very intentional in how we spend those funds and making sure we're raising that to make those payments or take care of the interest or anything that project costs. And all those are built in with bonds and our rating and what our percent interest would be.
And then, so I just want to continue my questions, if that's okay. I understand, and that's the hard part, is I'm trying to wrap my head around I understand the timeline constraints. I understand, but there is a part of me that really wrestles with feeling like we're putting the cart ahead of the horse a little bit, in the sense of, as far as I know, and correct me if I'm wrong, there has been no formal resolution passed supporting moving forward with a new building across the street. I mean, that was just one of the potential proposals. So that's the hard part for me, is it's like, I'm like, well, we haven't even really said we're going to do that or support that, and now we're collecting money for it. And so that's the part I do think, because I know that there has been support in previous councils for the Bourbon Park expansion project and Cypress Park renovations and things like that. I understand those things. That third one is something that, we haven't really decided that we're going to go that route yet, as far as I know. And so that's where it's like, moving forward with this before we formally decide that seems, but I also understand that the need to get it. So I think really what we're creating here, I guess I'm just kind of babbling here a little bit, and I'm trying not to do that. Really what we're creating here is, not only are we creating a situation, if we move forward with this, we're creating a vote on the 1% tax, but I think we also have to be we have to be cognizant to the fact that we're actually also kind of creating a referendum on these projects, from the city, from the people of the city. Because if they vote no, the only way they're going to vote yes to this thing is if they support these projects. If they don't support the projects, they're not going to vote for the sales tax. They're not going to. And so, so we have to, I think, be real about that. That if this 1% moves forward, if we say, yep, we're gonna do this, which I tend to be okay with, because I do think it does ultimately come down to the people of this city to make these decisions. But then we have to be willing to understand, if they vote no and this thing doesn't go through, that maybe these projects are not on the future for us right now. And so, and if we're willing to kind of look at that as a real thing, then I think that yeah, we can let the people of Osseo make the final decision. I mean, that's, you don't know if you don't ask the question, and so, but we have to be prepared for the answer, because you don't always get the answers that you like. And so if the answer is an overwhelming no by the people of Osseo for this, then I think that speaks as much to the projects themselves as it does to the 1%, in my opinion.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
just if it's helpful to know, the statute does require that if there is authorizing legislation allowing the tax to be imposed for more than one project, there must be a separate question approving the use of the tax revenue for each project. So if it does,
So if this went to
So
a
if-
ballot, this would be 3 separate questions.
there would
right
be
now?
separate questions on the ballot, correct?
Mr. Mayor?
Yep.
So I think everybody's points here have been really valid. And one of the things that, we're often called for is that when we're creating vision for this, one of the reasons that some of these projects have not been acted upon to this point in time is that, quite frankly, we don't have the funding available to do it. We've got $500,000 from the feds. We're waiting on some other grant applications that would definitely, as I currently understand it, that would still be there. It's not like we're saying we're giving this money back to you to put this back on to people. So that's an answer to one of the questions we had. I've received feedback on both sides of this issue. But the hardest part that we have here is trying to figure out what vision is, and we're all going to rely on the input that we hear to that. This particular opportunity for us gives us a direct, to the attorney's point, gives us a direct way to measure how much this means to the people. And for 100% sure, I mean, if people don't want to do it, this is by far and away the easiest way to do this, because they'll tell us exactly what they want. I'm receiving communication like, absolutely don't do this. Well, I mean, I'm actually happy that if this does go through, that the residents decide what they want to do. I don't have to be in this seat to do this. To your point about are we going to do this community center project? If that's a third ballot question, I mean, they can just say, no, we don't care about that. And that's okay. I mean, that's the reason. I mean, I can speak for myself, and I think the mayor will probably chime in. The reason we haven't moved ahead with any of these concept projects is simply due to funding and funding alone. We can still have the dialogue, but if let's say ballot question 3, I'm just working with what we have right now, doesn't pass, then we don't do that. And it's a very, very direct input from the community that they don't get the chance to do very often. They really don't. So, I had some feedback from businesses that say, don't support this. Well, if some of these things, like, if we get Boardroom Park, that's the point of this, is to increase our regional reach. Okay. We hear people say, this is Osseo, it's not Maple Grove. Well, I mean, I appreciate your perspective, but doesn't mean that if we have an opportunity here, it's not behoove us to look at it. Sipes Park, for example, I mean, Sipes Park has no lights. It's one of the reasons that a huge gang affiliation happened in Sipes Park a couple of years ago, because there was no lights. There was no video monitoring, so it's literally off the radar. I mean, they were there for several hours before people thought it was important enough to even call the police, okay? Because, they don't want to bother the police. I still don't get that, but okay. And supporting this project doesn't mean we're going to do any of it, because we aren't going to know until the next election in 2026 whether that's what people want. When I'm seeing new people move in, there's a lot of younger families that are moving in that would probably appreciate not having to pack their kids up and drive to someplace in Maple Grove. So I don't know how they're going to vote in support of that. The other part of it is that we do have a lot of people from out of town coming and utilizing the things we're paying for. Movies and music in the park is one of those that a lot of people come in and out for. Oftentimes they'll stop at downtown businesses either before or after some of those events. And so that could potentially be an asset to them as well. So I think this is probably, when we're looking at this as concept, because that's what I see this as a concept. We're asking for permission for us to pursue our concepts. Otherwise, if we don't get that permission at some point in time, the council is going to have to decide we're going to have to go out and borrow all this money, which is going to cost the people here more, because they're going to bear the cost of this exclusively. So when it comes to this, to Councilmember Torres's point, I mean, regarding adding the fourth ask, my recollection of speaking with the senator is that she didn't feel that a city campus was going to provide a regional enough benefit. That's just what her opinion is, and as the person that would likely carry this legislation, I don't know if she can. I mean, certainly she can piecemeal this, right? She could say, "Okay, I'm not going to put this through," or whatever. I think the ask is probably viable. So to that point, I don't know if I'm not sure of the timing of whether this resolution needs to be passed right now. If we can spend a little bit more time talking to the senator and get a direct opinion from her saying that would not be something I would carry on this, which I think could potentially do this. I'm just not sure what it is. I do know that when she talked about these types of things, us giving our questions early would allow her to submit this early on the docket. The earlier stuff on the docket has a much higher chance of being heard than stuff that's submitted in February or March. So I'm okay with it as it is. I'm okay also moving this down the road a little bit more, as long as it fits into the timelines that she's asking us to do. Because if we start pushing this outside of her timelines, it's a legislative process, she can just be like, not going to do that. And then we're waiting another 2 years before we can approve this. And to my previous point, in summary, I think that asking the residents of the community is the fairest way to look at whether we want to get, and I don't remember the exact term you used, but a mandate on what they want to see happen here. And that's when we get criticism all the time of, you're not doing what we want, we're not doing what we want. I can answer that and say, we're not doing what you want, okay? But that doesn't mean that we're not doing what a bunch of other people want. And when you get, let's just be gracious with some of the stuff. We got 10 people out of the other 2,600 people that live here. I mean, I don't know what our registered voter count is at this point in time. Probably right around 800 or 900, I would imagine.
Registered?
Yeah.
I think we had 1,600 last time.
Okay, so 1,600 people. That's a much better feel as to what they want, as opposed to a couple people that are sending emails or standing up for matters from the floor and yelling at us what their priorities are, which is part of the job. That doesn't bother me too much at all. But so I can go either way. Definitely, this resolution, in my opinion, is something that we should move forward with. I'm just not sure about the fourth ask. And so, I know, Shane, do you have any thoughts, or Natalie, any thoughts on what our timeline is, number one, and number two, if we can talk to the senator, give her more time than a couple hours that she got today trying to answer Mr. Torres' questions, to see if that's something that could be included in there.
Mayor and Councilmember Schultz, yes, when we sat down with her and today we did some research and looked at other 1% or 0.5% or 1/4% local option sales tax, we did not see anyone with city halls. I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm just saying we did not see that. When we spoke to Councilmember Pa, I do remember specifically saying it's the structure. If you're doing a remodel, it's the walls and the ceilings, and it's that. It's not chairs and desks when it comes to city halls, things like that. So it's a structure, and she wasn't the most behind that because of the regional ask. Again, this would be up to council to decide or have connect with Senator Pa. I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm just saying when we had that was my impression. And again, we did look back, and I think if there was when we talked at the work session, we did list all the other cities and kind of what, not all, but a big group of cities and what they were doing. A lot of it was parks, regional trails, and then, community centers. And in fact, that's something we talked about too, is that Maple Grove's right next to us, and they have a local option sales tax that's built in, and they use that to do their community center and that Central Park upgrades and things like that. So, I mean, that's where we've seen it used the most. I'm not saying that can't be done, but that I would love to talk to Senator Pa. And I know when we talked to her and Representative Hiltzley at our meeting, they really wanted it by the end of October so they could get it jacketed. And I told them that we just wouldn't be able to do that. But I don't know if 2 more weeks will make a difference. They would like it as early as possible. So I guess it's called jacketed. They can jacket it, get it on the docket right away. Instead of having it get lost. And so I know that that was kind of some of the feedback that we received.
Thank you.
Mr. Merritt?
Yep.
So to that point, I think we got a couple things. One, I absolutely agree. We need to do this tonight. Time is of the essence, especially to the jacketing that City Administrator Michelson has mentioned. Also, something that Councilmember Schultz said kind of stuck with me, and it's easier to cut something out than to try to add it later. So this essentially, if I understand this resolution correctly, this is just us saying we as a body agree to what we're about to say, and then we pass it forward. So in the interest of time, and then somebody correct me if I'm wrong, if we add the fourth thing, since the way the statute reads, and it has to be it's a separate vote for the people, then I would think stepping back to where it just gets presented to the legislature. I don't want to speak for Senator Powell or any of our representatives, but it would seem to me that we come up with our resolution, then we talk to them, and if they're not on board with any one of the four things. They could certainly just say, well, I'm not going to bring it forward in that way. I'm happy to do 1 and 3, but not 2 and 4. And I don't see how there's any reason why they couldn't, because this resolution is just us making a statement, right?
Attorney Teachin, go ahead.
Mayor and council. So the statute says that the resolution itself must include, and then it lists a number of things. One of those things is documentation of the regional significance of each project, including the share of the economic benefit to or use of each project by persons residing or businesses located outside of jurisdiction. So the resolution itself is required to include the documentation of the regional significance for each project. So I haven't been involved in the background, but staff would know, if the current resolution either does or does not contain that documentation as to a city hall kind of project, which is what is being discussed.
Yeah, it does not have that in there because we didn't put it as one of our asks, but that is something that if council wants to add that and put that into this resolution, we can definitely do that. That would be up to you, and it would push us back a couple of weeks
Mr. Mayor.
if we wanted to push that.
I am far more inclined to push this to the next meeting and make sure that it's right and that it includes everything that it's supposed to include than trying to, on a whim, add a fourth question without any sort of documentation, background, wording, all of that stuff, to try to kind of just to get it done tonight. I don't see the difference. We all know how the legislature works. The difference of 2 weeks is I can't see it. It's that whole process is really it's not moving at light speed over there, and so I can't imagine 2 weeks is going to make a huge difference to make sure our ducks are in a row and we've got everything included that we need included to make it legitimate. They might come back with us and say, no, you can't put that in there. You shouldn't put that in there. It's a bad idea to put that in there. Okay, then that's fine. Or they're going to say, yeah, you can put it in there, but this is what it's got to look like. This is how it's got to read. This is the wording that's got to be in there. This is the information that you need to include that. I would rather get it right than try to amend this resolution on a whim tonight. That seems to be a mistake in judgment, in my personal opinion.
Mr. Mayor, I would agree with that. And thinking about jacketing, the legislature doesn't convene until January. They do need plenty of time to put it together because this is obviously not the only thing on their plate. In fact, I'm sure this is not even high up on their plate. But I do have confidence that they are very much in favor of us doing this from the conversation that we did have with them. And I would agree. I don't think 2 weeks is going to be all of a sudden, well, we waited 2 weeks, now we can't do it. Right? And just to make sure that we do have the ducks in a row, because again, I would rather fail on the side of caution than to miss out on what I see as a very huge opportunity to get a very big ask put in. Because otherwise, it's like this building needs to be fixed. There is no two ways about it. We keep patching and patching and patching. And any way that we can put out the cup and get the coins in it, I just think it would behoove us to at least try. Because the worst thing that's going to happen is we have the discussion with them over the course of the next 2 weeks. They say, nope, absolutely not. I am not going to take that to the floor. Okay, then we'll give you what we already have. And it does give us a chance to review with them over the next 2 weeks what we have proposed. And they can look at and make sure we got all the I's dotted, T's crossed, et cetera. Because the thing does need to be tight. So with that, I'm going to make a motion that we table this until the next meeting.
Okay, we got a motion by Councilmember Torres to table this issue until the next meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Cook, non-debatable. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 5-0 to table that. City Administrator, do you have enough information, what we're looking for to come back with? Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I would also just note that the statutory deadline for submitting the approved resolution is January 31st. So that's not taking into account the process that has to happen before then, but I'm just saying, if it's helpful to know, that's the statutory deadline.
Yeah, and I just think this is one of those things that we're going to make sure we get it right, and ultimately, it's going to the hands of the residents. Because if we don't do this, then they won't have that option, so. All right, moving on, 10C, cannabis registration application.
Mayor and council, on November 25th, 2024, the city council adopted ordinance 2024-04, which added chapter 119 to title 11 of the city code. This ordinance established the framework for registration of cannabis and hemp businesses, along with the related regulations governing their operation within the city of Osseo. The city has received a cannabis retail endorsement application from Roz Chunks LLC, proposing to operate at 332 Central Avenue. This location lies within the Central Business District, where such a business use is permitted under the amended city code. All applicable city departments have reviewed the application and found it to be complete. They have preliminary license approval from the Office of Cannabis Management as well. The applicant has also submitted the required $500 application fee in accordance with the city code provisions. With all the preliminary requirements satisfied, staff is looking for approval of the cannabis registration application for Roz Chunks LLC to operate a retail cannabis business at 332 Central Avenue.
Questions, council?
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
so this has been a day that we've been looking forward to for a couple of years. And my thought process with this the whole time was, is that, okay, we're going to get a private dispensary application at some point in time. We put into policy as we needed to in the early stages of this, since we are limited to a minimum of one non-municipal application for this type of a store, with our population being under 12,500. And it was always like, okay, what do we do here? Do we set out the situation where we're going to somehow mysteriously evaluate multiple applicants? Since these are the first applicants to come before us, I think, getting through the process, we all know how challenging the process has been to get to this point. I didn't see anything specifically in here, and if I missed it, I apologize, that notes that indeed this applicant does have a preliminary or provisionary license granted. So I think it's the easiest way for us to do this is just the first one comes, we look at it, we evaluate its merits. I do know that following the news, there was a lot of challenges, I believe, with the city of Albert Lea that decided to take a position on some of their feelings regarding one applicant and denied that, then gave it to another one. And that's clearly and is already started. It's going to be a legal problem for them. So I get it. We've all gotten more than our share of what are we doing this here for? We don't need this here, whatever. Well, state law is something that we have to follow. And so I think that this one here, I appreciate the matters from the floor comments regarding that. And it's good to know that they're in full understanding is that there's going to be, likely to be a municipal cannabis dispensary here at the same time. And if that doesn't freak them out too much, I guess that's their thing. I'm also very excited about this particular location that they chose because it will apparently provide updates and upgrades to that building that has been long looked forward to. And this is straight up one in here. So I'm in favor of granting this application.
Mr. Mayor, I was just going to say kind of the same exact thing as far as the property goes. The unbelievable job that those two gentlemen right there have done with that property and enhancing it has been incredible for our town. And I think we've all been waiting anxiously for that. I know they have been too, for that third ball to drop, kind of a deal. And so So I just, and I just got to believe that if they are going into a business partnership with those gentlemen out there that have done such an incredible job with Union Speed and Style, I think that this could be a really, really good thing. And so I'm again, also, as somebody who serves on the City Cannabis Committee, I am also very much in favor of passing this application.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Just to Councilmember Schultz's point, the city's ordinance actually does say that applications will be processed on a first-come, first-served basis. And so I think that's totally appropriate. And if the application meets all of the ordinance's requirements, there really is little discretion to deny it.
With that, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the new cannabis registration application for Roz Chunks LLC.
Okay, and a motion by Councilmember Cook to approve the cannabis registration. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Schultz. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Welcome to Osseo. Looking forward to the updates. All right, 10D, cannabis registration application for the city of Osseo.
Mayor and council, as with the last agenda item, the City of Osceo's municipal cannabis registration application needs to go through the council approval as well. At the October 27th City Council meeting, staff received approval to move forward with utilizing the city-owned building located at 33 2nd Street Northeast for an Osseo municipal dispensary. This location lies within the central business district as well, where such a business use is permitted under the city code. All applicable city departments have reviewed the application for the previous press building and have found it to be complete. The city continues to work through the licensing process with the Office of Cannabis Management as well. With all preliminary requirements satisfied, staff is recommending that the city council approve the cannabis registration application for the City of Osceo's retail dispensary to operate at 33 2nd Street Northeast.
Questions, council?
Councilmember Schultz, you want to comment at all?
I mean, you know, we've been putting a lot of work into this. I mean, the whole intention of this from the start was not that we want to be the weed capital of the northwest suburbs. It's not our intention. You know, it was, you know, in an attempt to, you know, be responsive to the residents and try to find ways to help fund government that is not solely exist on the backs of the people living here, whenever possible. We've tried a bunch of different things. This one here is, I think, my opinion is that the amount of time and effort we put into this is a no-brainer. You know, I understand that some people just don't like the concept of it. I also understand that, you know, that puts us in direct conflict to compete against another business in town. But, you know, it is helpful to understand that the other business coming into town is fully aware of our intentions and supportive of our intentions. And who knows what a venture like that could actually look like, you know. But I think that, you know, it would be irresponsible of us to not move this ahead at this point in time, given all the amount of resource we put into it, all the different contract negotiations we had, and the upside, the financial benefit of this, I think, could be quite impactful.
With that, would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make the motion. I'd like to make a motion to approve the new cannabis registration application for the City of Osceo's municipal dispensary.
I got a motion by Councilmember Schultz to approve the cannabis registration application for the city of Osseo. Is there a second?
Second.
By Councilmember Cook. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 5-0. All right, 10E, approve and hire employment agreement with Luke Churchill as Fire Chief 2.
Mayor and council, I'm here to fill the vacant position of Chief 2 that was vacant when Blaine Anderson moved out of our service area. We did an internal posting and Luke came forward as the best candidate. for the position. Right now, he's my Captain 12, and he's our training officer too. But Luke has great knowledge. He's been on Maple Grove and a couple full-time departments. So he's has all the certifications, and he was the best one for the position to fill.
Questions, council?
Mr. Mayor?
Yep.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the hire and employment agreement for Luke Churchill as Fire Chief 2.
I got a motion by Councilmember Schultz to approve the hire and employment agreement with Luke Churchill as Fire Chief 2. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Harkoff. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
5-0. Yep, thank you. All right, 10F, CUP application from the Osseo Senior High School electronic messaging display sign.
Mayor and council, I am taking this one as well since Assistant City Administrator Vickerman is out. For your policy consideration tonight is reviewing consideration of a conditional use permit application submitted by Osseo area schools for the installation of an electronic messaging display sign at the Osseo Senior High School. The location address is 317 2nd Avenue Northwest here in Osseo. Osseo Senior High School is currently undergoing a remodel and signage branding update designed to ensure consistency across district facilities. While school districts and other government entities are generally exempt from standard sign permit requirements, the city's sign code specifies that electronic messaging display signs are not exempt. Under Osseo City Code 153.092, EMDs located within the Highway Commercial North zoning district require a conditional use permit. Accordingly, this application has been reviewed under the city's standard CUP process. This has also been reviewed by the Planning Commission at tonight's meeting with a vote to approve the recommended CUP with a noted change of a maximum height sign of 15 feet, not including the 3-foot grade to be considered. That's something to note special. That's not within the packet since the Planning Commission just occurred at 6 p.m. The height of the sign is offset by the downslope of the elevation, which was reviewed by engineering, for a total height sign that's actually 18 feet, 3 of which would be on the downslope grade. The Planning Commission held a public hearing tonight at 6 p.m., which was rescheduled from October 20th originally, to review the request and receive public comment. The Planning Commission's recommendation of approval with noted changes following the standards in code, which also include the following. The proposed sign will not endanger public health, safety, comfort, or welfare. It will not diminish the use and enjoyment of nearby properties. It will not impede normal and orderly development in the area. Adequate utilities, access, and drainage are provided. Access from County Road 81 Service Road is sufficient to minimize traffic concerns, and the proposal otherwise conforms to applicable zoning regulations. Should the City Council approve the conditional use permit, staff recommend the following conditions. Number 1, the sign shall not include any visual effects or illumination that could impair a driver's vision or mimic official traffic control devices. Number 2, messages may not change more frequently than once every 6 seconds, and transition effects shall not exceed 2 seconds. Sign content shall not include commercial advertising, website URLs, or profane language. Number 4, the sign must comply with all applicable zoning, electrical, and building permit requirements. The applicant has submitted a $500 CUP fee, which covers staff time for application processing and engineering review. Based on the staff's review and the Planning Commission's recommendation, the staff recommendation would be that the City Council approves the conditional use permit for the Osseo area schools to allow installation of the electronic messaging display sign at the senior high school, subject to the stated conditions. Staff is requesting that council adopt the resolution to either approve or deny the conditional use permit to allow the installation of the electronic messaging display board.
So that would be number 5 with the height requirement, you're saying?
Yes,
for the
so
conditions?
we would need to adjust and note the change that you could change number 4, which is compliance, to have a piece in there to exclude the 3-foot, since the zoning says 15-foot is the maximum height.
Mr. Mayor?
Yep.
So I attended much of the Planning Commission meeting today, and I think it's important to note that it was rescheduled from October 20th. And the reason they couldn't hold it is that being the peak of the seasonal transition, there was a lot of people that were sick that day, and so they just could not bring a quorum. So this is not something that was like, oh, we just, crap, we forgot to do this. That's not the case with this. Looking at it, they did place a maximum height of the sign at the Planning Commission to 15 feet. The proposed is 18. To note that 3 feet of that is currently below grade. So in actuality, if we push the sign down, I think it could probably work against the intention of the sign, making it more difficult to read, as opposed to being, at traffic height. So I'm in favor of granting this, but I would like to have us consider the full 18-foot height of the sign. I think it would be more functional. Also, just kind of one of the questions that was asked before is what's going to be the resolution of this sign? I did do some research prior to the meeting, and our sign, for example, is, and I know that there are representatives of the sign company here, we have a 16 millimeter display, so I don't know exactly what that means, but I do know 10 has a much higher resolution. And the new signs nowadays go down to 6. So, when you're looking at our current gateway sign, I can very much see that, the lifespan of that is 10 to 12 years before we have to replace the electronics board out there. I could very easily see us going down to 6 because some of the way that the advertisements are designed does make them illegible, if that's the right word. I get the concept of this. This is going to clearly be within the city of Osseo because it's right on the edge of Maple Grove. And so I'm in favor of approving this CUP at the 18-foot height simply because that 3-foot is below grade. So I just think I think it's safer to have it up higher than have people look down at it. That's just my opinion.
Council, any other thoughts? So then the noted changes in the packet would be.
Yeah, I believe our packet, it would represent and what we have in our packet represents the 18-foot. That was just an additional condition that was put on. So we don't have to change anything in our packet to approve what's written.
Yep.
We have somebody from the sign company here. Could I ask a question? Is that legal?
Yeah.
You can ask whatever you want anytime you want.
Just you're the professional expert. I'm not an electric sign guy. The difference of the 3 feet is that, does it make more, does Councilman Schultz's point make more sense than, I understand what the Planning Commission was trying to do as far as to keep it within current code and zoning ordinances and things like that. We do have variances that we've allowed in the past for certain things in certain situations. So does this justify being one of those situations?
Make it easier.
Okay.
So I agree with Councilmember.
Make it easier how?
Just make it easier when you're driving for visibility where you're not looking down on it. And you just it's kind of like a billboard in a way. You don't want to be looking too far down, and that can distract you. So the more eye level it is, it's going to be a little bit better, a little safer.
So 3 of the 18 feet would be below grade. Is that?
So grade is, the roadway is 3 feet higher
Yeah.
than where that is at.
Right.
So that's the grade. I'm not talking about below the ground. 'Cause-
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. So an 18-foot sign from ground level, it's 15 feet
Road.
from the road level.
Yeah, if you were to jog.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mayor, oh, sorry.
Oh, that. I'm good.
Mayor and Councilmember Cook too, also just something to consider is WSB did review and looked at that grade, the different grading, and did say it fit our code. So they were for it too, so.
Okay, with that, anyone like to make a motion?
I would. I just got to find the part that we need to. So I'd like to. What's that?
89.
Yeah, I'm just trying to. I'd like to adopt a resolution for the additional use permit for the conditional messaging sign at Osseo Senior High School with the conditions of approval listed above. So that is reflective of the overall 18 rather than 15 feet.
Okay, we've got a motion by Councilmember Schultz to approve the CUP application as presented in the packet. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Torres. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Attorney Teachin.
Thank you, Mayor. This is resolution number 61. Councilmember Hutkoff.
Aye.
Councilmember Schultz.
All right.
Councilmember Cook.
Aye.
Councilmember Torres.
Aye.
Mayor Poppy.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. All right, 10G, review city council pay.
Mayor and council, per our city ordinance, the city reviews mayor and council member pay during odd number years before December 1st to ensure that pay amounts are consistent with other cities in the 7-county metro area. Staff conducted a survey of those cities for mayor and council pay amounts. See attached spreadsheet, there's one lower in your packet. The pay amounts found for other cities were researched by looking at cities' ordinance on council pay. The last review of council pay was done in 2023. Some of the cities in the last review were removed for consideration for populations being over 10,000 people, while others we could not locate the council pay in the ordinance to include in this packet. And so that as you can review and see on the right-hand side, it gives you an Osseo's pay and then some of the averages, and then either plus or minus.
Mr. Mayor.
Yep.
I'll just go on the record right now, and I mean, I understand it is our job to review this in odd years, so we can certainly do that. I would not be in support right now of changing council pay at this point in time. I think it's manageable where it's at. I don't see that it needs to move one way or the other for this cycle, in my opinion.
Mr. Mayor.
Yep.
I would also agree with that sentiment. Sentiment. Yes. Sentiment.
So do we need a motion to say leave it or just move? Go ahead.
Mayor, just to make sure that, and council already knows this, I'm sure, but if you were to amend the ordinance to change the salary, that does not take effect until January 1st following the next
Yep.
regular election. So it would be January of 2027.
Okay. Is everyone, any other comments for or against? Leave it. So no motion, nothing?
I don't think we need that. I just needed to have it reviewed, and
Yep.
then you gave me walking orders, which is not to come back. Is that correct with
Yep.
an amendment? Okay.
Yep. All right, 10H, upgrade Microsoft licensing.
Mayor, council, the budget committee has discussed moving towards a cloud-based solution for our servers over time. This wasn't something that we were able to do right away for cost effectiveness. Our first step in that process is to upgrade our Microsoft Office subscription. The step up for our city would cost an extra $296 per month or a total of $3,552 per year. With this upgrade in the subscription would be the below list. So we'd be CGIS and BCA compliant, which is very difficult, as we've talked over time. with logical and physical segregation of our content from commercial customers. Compliance, I don't know who FedRAMP or DFARS or FTI is, to be honest with you. Compliance with US-based data residency, access by screen Microsoft personnel only, convenience of having one login account for email and office apps, including OneDrive and SharePoint. That's a big concern because right now when we do our computers, they actually per computer, they have to go in and log in for all of our Microsoft Office, Azure AD identity management so that we can move away from servers when we're ready to do that. Intune and Autopilot for computer management and deployment, unlimited OneDrive storage, which is very helpful, and better SharePoint plan. That's something that we'd love to institute within our police department for sure, to have access to a lot of what's on our current server, which is housed in-house. So to access that, officers are unable unless they're connected through our city internet. And so when they're out on their computers, they can't get things they have stored on the server. This would help because we can put that all into SharePoint and then they can access it outside. I know for city staff, it's the same thing. A lot of us have information that we have stored on our servers that we're unable to get to unless we have a VPN or some way in, and those things obviously with any softwares can be tricky. So, but this would be our first step in making this change for our city, because we looked at our current servers, which are physically here, and there's a lot of Microsoft background on those servers that is probably going to be discontinued. And so we're just trying to kind of get ahead of the curve a little bit and also do it in a financially respectable manner.
Mr. Mayor? It's accounted for in the budget. It needs to happen. Software upgrades are like this. I mean, they have to happen in order for things to work. So with that, I'm going to make a motion to approve the upgrade to the Microsoft Office subscription.
Okay, we got a motion by Councilmember Cook to upgrade the Microsoft licensing subscription. Is there a second?
A resounding second.
And a resounding second by Councilmember Torres. With that, is there any further discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
As you know, just kind of some background information of this is that everything is rapidly changing. Microsoft is not building a new server software package because they're moving everything off-site. And so if for some weird reason we chose not to do this, moving ahead, if we didn't take this step, we wouldn't be able to basically function going into the future. We broke this part in two steps simply because of the financial management aspect of it and the implementation aspect of it as well. I'll have more to say at the next agenda item as well when it pertains to the fire department. But I believe, from our recommendation, this is the right way to go to ensure our functionality moving into the future. Additionally, it's an online server, so there's going to be backups and redundancies and security things that we, quite frankly, would probably likely be far more expensive if we didn't do this down the road. So I'm in support of it as well.
Yes. Yeah, it's the first step in unneeded process. First was the rotary phones. Now we're moving to computers.
We did take that whole step to voice over IP phones a couple of years back, and that was challenging, believe it or not.
Yep. So, all right, we got a first and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 5-0. All right, 10, integrate fire department over to city server.
Mayor, council, for many years, the Osseo Fire Department has been working independently of the city server. Most things are just stored on a tower, which is currently, is it in your office or it's upstairs? It has only been in the last few years that the fire department has been actually using city email. Currently stored data is being stored on that desktop computer and tower computer in the office. With this approval, Element will be able to connect the fire department computers to our network, and they will be able to store data in the same fashion as every other department in the city. And the cost of this move, to move them over, is $2,400. This will be covered in the 2025 budget under IT costs, which we have that amount in that budget currently.
Mr. Mayor, if I'll just kind of say what the conversation. So it might seem as if we're moving over to here and then, but we're bringing fire down here. But in actuality, we're actually bringing fire level to what we are currently doing, providing them some security. Definitely data retention that helps us manage our data requests and things like that. So this is their first step to get us to where we are now. And so what we just budgeted on now will include that stuff for them as well, what we just passed in the last one, and then they will be ready when we have to take the next step to go up to a physical on-site serverless solution. Does that sound right?
Yes, the thought process is we want to get out of having a physical server and be in the cloud. It is more protected and redundancies, as we've talked about. This will bring fire to our server so that when we're ready to go to the cloud, every department will be able to move with us up to the cloud in the future.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
I would like to make a motion to approve moving the fire department over to the city server.
I got a motion by Councilmember Cook to integrate the fire department over to the city server. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Schultz. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 5-0. All right. 10J, approve accounts payable.
Motion to approve the bills.
I got a motion by Councilmember Schultz to approve accounts payables. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Cook. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 5-0. All right, administrator report.
No report.
City clerk, welcome, and
Thank you.
any report?
No, except that city offices are closed tomorrow for Veterans Day.
Thank you. Anything else?
Nope.
Okay. Council and attorneys report, attorney teaching.
I have no report.
Okay, Councilmember Harkoff.
I would like to wish a happy birthday to all United States Marines as we celebrate our 250th anniversary today, and put out appreciation to all our veterans as we celebrate Veterans Day tomorrow.
Councilmember Torres.
So, just a couple quick thoughts. First of all, I'd like to apologize. The person that I was hoping was going to be here is not here, but what I'm going to apologize about is I did something tonight that in retrospect was unprofessional. I wanted to make a point, and in thinking about it, there were many other options I could have taken and a much better way to do it. And what I did was we had somebody speaking from the matters of the floor tonight. And in a moment of frustration, not an excuse, it's a reason, I turned my back on that person. That's not right. And it was to make a point. And it was to make a point that if you are going to come up here and speak, there are certain rules and we need to follow the rules. And it was in a moment of frustration that I did that. But I need to apologize for that because, again, that was unprofessional. I should have just sat and listened, even though it's my contention that if you are not going to play by the rules, you shouldn't be up here in the first place. I'm willing to listen to anybody at any time for any position. I may not agree. I may vehemently disagree, but I'm going to listen. So that's the first thing. I wanted to apologize for that. During that particular moment, there was once again this talk about the Constitution. I'm going to quickly read what the Fourth Amendment says. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue, but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the places to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. The Fourth Amendment is the search and seizures clause. So just so there's no confusion, the Fourth Amendment has nothing to do with anonymity. And the last time I checked the Constitution, there's no inherent right to anonymity. So I just wanted to point that out so that hopefully in the future, the Constitution is not misquoted. There are at times positions that people are going to take that we're not going to agree with. But if you want to be heard, follow the rules. It's a very simple rule. We all know who each other are. And there are people out in the audience, there's people watching that may not know who you are. So if you have a point to make the point. Even if nobody's going to agree with you, make the point. But you have to follow the rules. And the rules are you fill out the little yellow piece of paper, you put your real name, not to do so actually, could be construed fraudulent, I don't know. But you are going to not fall on deaf ears, which again, I did that the wrong way, but that was my intent. My intent was to go, I'm not listening to you, because if you're nobody, then I'm listening to nobody. So be somebody. And I think I'll leave it at that. Just be somebody. Play by the rules. People might actually listen to what you're saying if you do, even if we don't agree. Thank you.
He kind of stole my thunder a little bit, in the sense of I also actually just wanted to apologize, and for something different, I guess. I wanted to apologize for, to me, when you break basic meeting decorum, respectful meeting decorum, and then you break respectable meeting decorum to defend breaking. You see what I'm saying? Like it was out of line, and so I apologize to the council. I apologize to the city staff in the room, and to our constituents for that. I let my emotions get the best of me there, and I'm not a lawyer. I shouldn't sit up here and pretend to be one. And so for that, I was, I spoke out of turn, and I broke meeting decorum, and I don't feel good about that. And so I apologize for that. But that's all I have. Otherwise, thank you to the Planning Commission for making that meeting work tonight. I know that that was important for us to be able to do the things that we did here tonight with the CUP. Also, just wishing a very respectful and admirable Veterans Day to all of those veterans out there tomorrow, as we will be in class tomorrow talking and honoring Veterans Day with all of our high schools and District 279 students per district and state policies. So with that, I yield my time.
Okay, Councilmember Schultz.
So I also want to join in celebrating 250 years of the United States Marine Corps, as well as, happens to be Veterans Day coming tomorrow. Part of the reasons that we can do the things we can have conversation of disagreement without being thrown in jail or being basically physically harmed for your beliefs, is because we have men and women that have placed their concern for themselves far below what it takes to support our country and our Constitution. So I just really want to say, how much I appreciate and am thankful for the veterans that have decided to do that and continue to do that every single day. I have huge admiration and respect for what they've done. Councilmember Cook, I think, are you a social studies teacher?
I am.
Okay, so you probably have taught some stuff over the years while you're not a lawyer.
A few things.
You've probably spent time teaching tens of thousands of students, if not more, on the finer points of what that means. So respectfully, professional, that I think you were well within your right to do what you did, but I'm totally okay with that. Definitely that's up to you to do that. But yeah, I mean, oftentimes, we have a lot of things that are quoted erroneously to us, but to the point of the respectful meeting decorum, it's important. It's important for the residents to be able to come up here and be respectful to us, because if they're going to be respectful to us, they're going to expect that we're respectful back to them. We all do our best, but we're human beings too. Okay, so I said it earlier today. I'll say it again. When you're talking to somebody, disagreement, just because we don't do what you want doesn't mean we're not listening to you. I can't tell you how many times over the last 15 years I've said this over and over and over again. we are listening to you. I will tell you that it's much easier to listen to you if you're respectful and you come to it with us with that tone. And so probably being disrespectful doesn't give you a license to do that. I mean, to be disrespectful to us. But I guess you can do whatever you want to and figure out what that's going to matter down the road. And, you know, hearing us talk about our feelings regarding community decorum, I hope that that empowers the mayor when he has to make the difficult decisions of what to do when somebody is sitting up there. You know, so truthfully, I mean, really, if you start digging in, I think, you know, some of the level of disrespect that's shown here could also be considered disorderly conduct on some level. But, you know, thankfully, we haven't had to go that route yet. So with that, you know, we did a lot of really important stuff here today. And I really appreciate the opportunity for us to come together, talk about different things, and make these conclusions. First and foremost, we are trying to figure out the best way for our city to thrive and survive. You know, we've had a lot of different statements regarding, you know, oh, there's a bunch of houses up for sale in Osseo. People are waiting to leave. You know, they're selling as long as they're reasonably priced. People are still wanting to move here. They still appreciate what we have. You know, and talking to some of my neighbors with, you know, brand new children, weeks old, they chose this place for a reason. It's because of what we do and who we are. And I acknowledge that not everybody is going to necessarily agree with all that stuff, and that's totally fine. You can do whatever you want and how that goes. But just reaffirming the fact that I, for one, you know, listen to all of the different people that want to feed me information, and it's very important for me to know what's going on both sides of these issues, because I just want to represent the people of this community as thoroughly and thoughtfully as possible, realizing that it is inherently against most people's personal priorities to think about something other than their own family. And sitting up here and voting on things, I can't tell you how many times the things we voted on brings my own family personal impact, you know, from both a negative and a positive aspect, you know, so, and, you know, I also, you know how hard this staff works, you know, to do all the different things that we ask of them. And I just want to say thank you to everybody this evening. I personally, I don't think any of you have any reason to apologize for anything, but that's just my opinion, and I'm okay to express that. And so, but again, just thank you to everybody for all the work you do. It may have seemed like a lot over the last year and a half, but I will say that the city staff that we have managed to bring together is doing stuff that, quite frankly, previous city staffs were afraid to do, or were just unwilling to put the time and effort into it for whatever reason. I mean, whatever. But I said this before, we've accomplished more in the last year to year and a half than I think we've probably accomplished in the last 10 years. And it's all necessary activities to help our city thrive into the future. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, Malik Hammond, again, yeah, happy veterans, and thank you for your years of service for that tomorrow. Moving on, number 14, adjournment.
So moved.
Okay, we got a motion by Councilmember Schultz. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Hartkoff, non-debatable. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion passes 5-0. We're adjourned at 9:06.